Hello, my friends. This is The Art of Prepping. Hope you guys are doing good today. So today we're looking at shelter options. So this is going to be within the concept of critical survival kit supplies. So we do know through the data that it's available that the number one cause of death is exposure. And more specifically, people get hypothermic, right, from overexposure. So we want to mitigate that potential threat if we're in a survival situation, especially if we're in the great outdoors. We want to have a really good, robust shelter system or shelter options in place. And so whatever we have in our survival kit is very important here when it comes to this. So I'm going to now just list some various options and just speak a little bit about a few of these in more detail. So when I first think about shelter options, I think of a really simple solution. It's not always the best solution, but ponchos come to mind. And there's all kinds of really cool ponchos out there. I'm more fond of the mid-weight ponchos that also have the grommets. Sometimes they're referred to as poncho tarps, so that not only can you wear it, but you can use it as a tarp system. So that's really helpful and handy. But more so than the average poncho, though, I tend to kind of migrate toward rain suits just because they're more form-fitting and they're not so bulky or loose like some ponchos are. Rain suits, they just work a bit better in keeping you drier is what I've noticed. And, for some people, you have just different needs. And, if your trousers or your bottoms are already pretty much water resistant, then maybe all you need is a rain jacket. But for me, though, I like to get just a rain suit, a top and a bottom, and just put that away as part of my shelter system. Don't forget about hats and gloves, depending on the time of the year and what kind of activities you'll be doing. And really focus on the clothing that you have on. It's all about layering, especially in colder weather. Having a good base layer to wick away moisture is very important. Typically, they recommend a middle layer that's more about insulating, and an outer layer which is more about protecting you against the elements. So that outer shell is more about being like wind resistant and water resistant and all that. Bivy sacks and sleeping bags have a really large place in this particular category of shelter options, and they can be found in all kinds of materials. And when people think of a sleeping bag, a lot of people tend to deviate toward the old school thinking of when they were a kid, and there's these big bulky bags. And sleeping bags are not really like that anymore. I mean, you can still find the really big overstuffed sleeping bags, but there's some very, very compact and lightweight sleeping options now. Sleep systems are not the same as they used to be. So bivy sacks and sleeping bags are very important to have something of that nature to protect yourself, especially if it's a very cold night that you have to kind of get through. And talking about things that you might have to use to hold in your body heat or to reflect your body heat back to you, we have Mylar products. Mylar blankets, Mylar bivy bags, sacks. Sometimes they call them survival bags. So it's another option. Enclosed hammocks can also be used as a shelter. And plastic sheeting. Plastic sheeting is something that really is a real simple product that can be deployed. as a ground cloth, or just to help insulate your primary shelter, to make a super shelter. There's all kinds of things you can do with plastic sheeting. I would say to go ahead and get clear sheeting, because you can allow some of the sun to come in and help warm your shelter. Or if you have a campfire, that heat can and the light can come through easier. And don't forget about garbage bags, especially oversized, heavy-duty garbage bags, yard waste bags. They can be used in multiple ways to help put together a shelter. In the worst case scenario, you can just get into the sleeping bag that you have, and then insulate the sleeping bag with a garbage bag or yard waste bag. And if you don't have a sleeping bag, you can just get directly into the garbage bag or yard waste bag itself, right? I mean, it's better than nothing. So it is something that's really simple, but very useful. You can even cut up a garbage bag and make it into plastic sheeting or, some type of tarp system. And talking about tarps, let's just say, just standard tarps. I mean, they're even better if you get the more compact and lightweight, versions that like made out of sil nylon. But tarps have a very large place in the shelter system. Some people, they bring multiple tarps. One is a ground cloth and one for overhead shelter. Some people just get one large oversized tarp, and they basically kind of make it so that it covers the ground and all around them, kind of like a cocoon, if you will. Tents, it goes without saying that a tent would be helpful for you in a survival situation. But just like sleeping bags, over the decades, tents have gotten a lot better. They've gotten lighter. They've gotten to be a lot smaller form factor to carry with you. And there's just a lot that has been advanced in the field of tents. So you can find ultra lightweight tents that weigh only a couple of pounds. And it is an option. And for some people, it's just a lot easier to put up a tent than a tarp system. Heat packs. There's certainly a lot of people that are into this, hand warmers, body warmers, feet warmers. I mean, if you're in a very cold environment, that might be something to look into. It's a temporary solution, but if you only need to weather the environment for just a few hours or maybe a day, just having some body warmers can really make a big difference. Eye and ear protection. I mean, it goes without saying, if you're in certain situations, there's a lot of debris flying around, or there's a lot of very loud noise, it's going to be very helpful. And it really doesn't take up much space, and it doesn't weigh almost anything to have eye and ear protection. So in closing, I just want to say this. Just focus on staying dry. A dry body lends to a more stable body temperature, in particular your core body temperature. So dry equals warm. And just consider these things that I've just talked about. If you're putting together your shelter system within your survival kit, these are some of the more basic concepts or options out there. And this can go a long way to keeping you safe. And so when you're putting together your survival kit, I would certainly give a lot of attention to this category. It probably is the most important category of all of them, because, being overexposed to the environment and getting hypothermia, it's not only just a scary thing to go through, but it's a really bad way to go out of this world. It would be a horrible way to die. And it's something that can be very easily prevented. So just wearing the right clothing, having options to get out of the environment, and just put together even a basic shelter can be, the difference between life and death. And so stay tuned. I'll have other videos like this coming, down the road. Other categories that I would consider critical as part of your survival kit. And so what I'll do next is fire making supplies. And we'll talk about what are some options, some really good common sense options for your survival kit. Thanks for taking the time to check the video out. You guys take care.